The Heavenly Life by James Allen. Greatness and goodness. Goodness, simplicity, greatness, these three are one. And this trinity of full perfection cannot be separated. All greatness springs from goodness, and all goodness is profoundly simple. Without goodness there is no greatness. Some men pass through the world as destructive forces like the tornado or the avalanche, but they are not great. They are to greatness and the avalanche is to the mountain. The work of greatness is enduring and preservative, and not violent and destructive. The greatest souls are the most gentle. Greatness is never obtrusive. It works in silence, seeking no recognition. That is why it is not easily perceived and recognized. Like the mountain, it towers up in its vastness so that those in its immediate vicinity who receive the shelter and the shade do not see it. Its sublime grandeur is only beheld and they recede from it. The great man is not seen by his contemporaries. The majesty of its form is only outlined by its recession in time. This is all and enchantment of a distance. Men occupy themselves with the small things, their horses, trees, lands. Few contemplate the mountain, and whose base they live, and fewer still essay to explore it. But in the distance, this small thing disappears. And then the solitary beauty of the mountain is perceived. Popularity, noisy obtrusiveness, and the shallow show, these superficialities rapidly disappear and leave behind no enduring mark, whereas greatness slowly emerges from obscurity and endures forever. Jewish rabbi and rebel alike saw not the divine beauty of Jesus. They saw only an unlettered carpenter. To his acquaintances, Homer was only a blind beggar. But the centuries reveal him as Homer, the immortal poet. 200 years after the farmer of Stratford and all that is known of him has disappeared, the real Shakespeare is discerned. All true genius is impersonal. It belongs not to the man through whom it is manifested, it belongs to all. It's a diffusion of pure truth. The light of heaven descending on all mankind. Every work of genius in whatsoever department of art is a symbolic manifestation of impersonal truth. It's universal and finds a response in every heart, in every age and race. Anything short of this is not genius, is not greatness. That work which defends a religion perishes. It's religion that lives. Theories about immortality fade away. Immortal man endures. Commentaries upon truth come to the dust. Truth alone remains. That only the true in art which represents the true, that only is great in life which is universally and eternally true, and the true is the good, and the good is the true. Every immortal work springs from the internal goodness in the human heart. It is clothed with the sweet and unaffected simplicity of goodness. The greatest art is like nature, artless. It knows no trick, no pose, no studied effort. There are no stage tricks in Shakespeare, and he is the greatest dramatist because he is the simplest. The critics, not understanding the wise simplicity of greatness, always condemn the loftiest work. They can't discriminate between the childish and the childlike, the true, the beautiful, the great is always childlike. It is perennially fresh and young. The great man is always a good man. He is always simple. He draws from and lives in the inexhaustible fountain of divine goodness within. He inhabits the heavenly places, communes with the vanished great ones, lives with the invisible. He is inspired to breathe the airs of heaven. Who would be great? Let him learn to be good. He will therefore become great by not seeking greatness. Aiming at greatness, a man arrives at nothingness. Aiming at nothingness, he arrives at greatness. The desire to be great is an indication of littleness, of personal vanity, and obtrusiveness. The willingness to despair from gaze, the utter absence of self-aggrandizement is the witness of greatness. Littleness seeks and loves authority. Greatness is never authoritative. It is thereby becomes authority to which the out ages appeal. He who seeks loses, and who is willing to lose wins all men. Be thine simple self, thine better self, thy impersonal self, and lo, thou art great. He who selfishly seeks authority shall succeed only in becoming a trembling apologist, courting protection behind the back of acknowledged greatness. He who will become the servant foreman, desiring no personal authority, shall live as a man and shall be called great. Abide in the simple and noble regions of thy life, obey thy heart, and thou shalt reproduce the full world again. Forget thy own little self, and fall back upon the universal self, and thou shalt reproduce in living the enduring forms a thousand beautiful experiences. Thou shalt find within thyself that simple goodness which is greatness. It is as easy to be great as to be small, says Emerson. It utters a profound truth. Forgetfulness of self is the whole of greatness, as it is the whole of goodness and happiness. In a fleeting moment of self-forgetfulness, the smallest soul becomes great. Extend that moment indefinitely, and there is a great soul, a great life. Cast away thine personality, thine petty cravings, vanities, and ambitions as a worthless garment, and dwell in the loving, compassionate, selfless regions of thine soul, and thou art no longer small, thou art great. Claiming personal authority, a man descends into littleness. Practicing goodness, a man ascends into greatness. The presumptuousness of the small may for a time obscure the humility of the great, but is at the last swallowed up by it, and the noisy river is lost in the calm ocean. Vulgarity of ignorance and the pride of learning must disappear. The worthless is equal. They have no part in the soul of goodness. If thou wouldst do, thou must be. Thou shalt not mistake information for knowledge. Thou must know thyself as a pure knowledge. Thou shalt not confuse learning with wisdom. Thou must apprehend thyself as undefiled wisdom. Wouldst thou write a living book? Thou must first live. Thou shalt draw around thee the mystic garment of a manifold experience, that thou shalt learn enjoyment, the suffering, gladness, the sorrow, conquest, defeat, that which no book and no teacher can teach thee. That thou shalt learn of life, of thy soul, that thou shalt tread the lonely road, that thou shalt become, thou shalt be, that thou shalt then write thy book, and that thou shalt live. It shall be more than a book. Let thy book first live in thee, then shalt thou live in thy book. Wouldst thou carve a statue that shall catch with the ages opened, a picture that shall endure? Thou shalt acquaint thyself with the divine beauty within thee, that I shall comprehend and adore the invisible beauty, that I shall know the principles which are the soul of form, that I shall perceive the matchless symmetry and the faultless proportions of life, of being, of the universe. Thus knowing the eternally true, that I shall carve open the indescribably beautiful. Wouldst thou produce an imperishable poem? That I shall first live thy poem, that I shall think and act rhythmically, that I shall find the never-failing source of inspiration in the living places of the heart. Then shall immortal lines flow from thee without effort, and as the flowers would fill the spontaneous spring, so shall beautiful thoughts grow up in thy heart, and, enshrined in words the most to their beauty, shall subdue the hearts of men. Wilt thou compose such music, and shall gladden the uplift of the world? That I shall adjust thy soul to the heavenly harmonies, that I shall know that thyself, the life of the universe, is music. That I shall touch the chords of life, that I shall know that music is everywhere, that it is the heart of the being, that I shall thou hear with thine spiritual ear the deathless symphonies. Wilt thou preach the living word? That I shall forego thyself, and become thy word. Thou shalt know one thing, that the human heart is good, is divine. That I shall live on one thing, love. That I shall love all, saying no evil, thinking no evil, believing no evil. Then, though thou speak but little, thy every act shall be a power, thy every word a precept. By thine pure thoughts, thine selfless deeds, that appear hidden, thou shalt preach down the ages to untold multitudes of aspiring souls. To him who chooses goodness, sacrificing all, is given that which is more than and includes all. He becomes the possessor of the best, communes with the highest, and enters the company of the great. The greatness that is flawless, rounded, complete, is above and beyond all art. It's a perfect goodness in manifestation. Therefore, the greatest souls are always teachers.